Thank you. I wanted to ask about ARPA-H. In the FY 2023 omnibus, there was $1.5 billion for ARPA-H and moved them under the NIH umbrella. And then this new budget is asking for an additional $1 billion. I'm supportive of the goals of ARPA-H to be high risk, high reward, partnering with the private sector. But I don't really understand why ARPA-H is going up $1 billion, and yet most of the other biomedical research being done at NIH is pretty flat funding, slight increases someplace. Dr. Tabak, can you describe how NIH and ARPA-H can complement one another, your perception of this, and where is ARPA-H fitting into the overall organization?
So ARPA-H is an independent entity within the NIH superstructure. They have taken advantage of a number of our administrative systems so that they don't have to reduplicate, sort of basic business systems and things of this nature. The inaugural director, Dr. Wegerson, has been putting together her team. They've been onboarding over 100 folks now. The key to their business model, if you will, is the recruitment of program managers who come with them unique ideas for bold and creative projects that they would like to see supported. They have been sorting through some 250 candidates thus far. They have hired a few to begin with. They've just recently released a broad agency announcement for research to improve health outcomes across patient populations, communities, diseases, and health conditions. The ARPA-H leadership has been engaging with the rest of the NIH leadership on a regular basis. We certainly want to avoid duplication,
right,
or we want to incentivize shared engagement with one entity doing one aspect of a problem and the other entity doing another. And so this is a bold new idea about how to fund biomedical research, which we think will complement what we do at NIH, and we're looking forward to continue to work with Dr. Wegerson and her colleagues.
Well, I would hope, the complementary aspect of it, certainly, and we see all the expertise on the panel and all the folks behind the expertise that we see here seated today. It certainly makes sense. So we'll watch that as it fully develops, and thank you for that explanation. Last week, the Republicans on Energy and Commerce launched an investigation to the NIH use of public relations and communication services worth about $1 billion since 2018. Contracts to 10 public relations companies. Here's as I was reading this, I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of money. And that's, for 10 companies, that's a lot of money. But then when I started thinking about the years and the fact that it had initial funding of $500 million and then was doubled to $1 billion under the COVID pandemic, and you and I talked about this on the phone, there's a lot of people have moved through COVID confused as to the best way to have achieved this, the best way to cope with it. You're seeing all second guesses. Should we have closed the schools? Should we not have closed the schools? Is it contagious? Can I get it from touching this? All the different things that we went through during that period. So I guess I have a twofold question. First of all, I don't think we got our bang for the buck for NIH spending this much money in public relations, because I think the confusion is partially owned by NIH and other health. We can look at who else owns part of this. And the excuse, or not the excuse, but the question, well, we've never been through this. We don't really know. It was 100 years ago. The influenza of 1918, might have had some similarities. But we can't sit here and say this is never going to happen again or could never happen again. So I guess my question is, as you look in, first of all, will you keep us keep us here at the Senate, at the subcommittee in the loop as to what that investigation uncovers with the vast amounts of dollars there? So I would like, yes, thank you. The other thing I would say is, what is NIH doing to do a look back in this area? I'm not talking about vaccine development or anything like that, of communicating to the American people how you can improve that part of the reaction to COVID, and it's going to play into long COVID and everything else as we move forward. So are you all doing a full analysis of what your reactions were? Are you going to make that public? When can we expect to see that?
So as you well know, our mission is to translate and communicate research findings in a way that's understandable to all of our stakeholders, patients, families, healthcare providers. And again, it's all done with the goal of improving health. And so we are taking a look back to see how.
In a formal way, are you generating?
I think it will become more formal, but initially we're sort of doing the landscape. Because, and again, not to make excuses, because we have to own, how it came out, okay? And I accept that. But of course, we were dealing with something that was ever evolving. And as you know, as you learn more and more, your message can be more and more precise. And so we are looking back to try and figure out how things might have been done better, with an eye towards what happens the next time. Because you're right, there will be a next time about something, whoever,
There
whatever
will
it
be.
is.
And like if we look at like Dr. Volkov's area of expertise, it was thought initially, oh, well, if people can do telemedicine in this area with their, and then you saw the numbers go up. So maybe that wasn't true, so it had a whole different dynamic. If you look at mental health, huge issues there. And so I think we've got to do a really deep down analysis, but I think where we really need to, and you all are doctors, and thank goodness you are, but sometimes we need to communicate in plain language what is actually going on and what you need to do, and you can play a big role here with all the research. So thank you all very much.
We aim to do that, yes, thank you.